Today we're going to look at the Zephyr, the train Zephyr, developed in the 30s, that also ran into the 40s and to the present day, but it's changed a couple ways in that time. And now it's kind of by name only. It's not the same system that was developed in the 30s. So what we want to do is dig into the original OG version here of the Zephyr train and give you the backstory, and then maybe in another video we'll dive into more of what the current one looks like and what's going on there. But this is the basic model here. I've got a great little documentary from a researcher here that we'll dig into. Yeah.
Provided the power plant for the first and latest fad in passenger service, the lightweight and streamlined articulated train. 2 diesel train sets debuted in that year, and both were on Western lines. The first was Union Pacific's M10000, later known as the City of Salina, and that locomotive was powered by the Winton distillate engine, which is one that used spark plugs for ignition. And the second train set was Burlington's Bud-built stainless steel Zephyr, powered by the Winton diesel engine, making it the first diesel-electric passenger train. Both trains toured the country before entering regular service.
So it's worth knowing for all you engine nuts out there. These are 8-cylinder, or the eventual final version is the 8-cylinder diesel engine, and in an era where steam was the king. I think he gets into that a little more. It was an important thing, but it was a diesel electric. So very much, these heavy duty hybrid things that are going on these days. Yeah, and if you haven't heard of Edison Motors out of British Columbia, they're building fleets of transport trucks and logging trucks using a diesel electric approach. But anyway, I digress. I thought you guys would like to know, though, that's the 8-cylinder diesel engine in there in these.
Now, many railroaders may have dismissed the Zephyr in the city of Salina as gimmicks. After all, these lightweight trains are little more than overgrown motor cars, right? Real work requires real power, and that, as everyone knows, is provided by steam locomotives. And that was the attitude at the time, speaking amongst the railroads. That is, the people who operated the locomotives and train sets and what have you. But
check out this museum in Chicago as well, where you can go on board and kind of relive the experience.
Being that these gimmicks just might save the industry. The Zephyr in the city of Salina were intended to attract passengers back to the rails. Basically, what was attracting passengers away from the railroads was electric interurbans, then cars, then airplanes, and then the Great Depression seriously affected ridership, and the railroads felt that they needed a radical solution to get the attention back of the passengers. This was pretty much an age of companies taking wild stunts, so why shouldn't the railroads try something new? The response to the new sleek streamliners was enormous and way more than what the railroad heads were expecting. The trains were so popular that neither the Burlington nor the Union Pacific had anticipated the crowds.
So this is a good lesson. Oh, by the way, go and check out the Railroad Crossing channel. I'm pulling the video from there. I'm playing at a different speed. Go watch the high quality one there and give them a like. This is an interesting lesson though for today, because we have all the same challenges. There's different transportation modes and methods that are more popular or cheaper or faster. And also the ability to take big leaps and challenges and moonshots with these businesses is almost non-existent these days. They almost just want to let the railway die. But there is no way to tell what would happen if there were major lines opened up between major cities today, which should be faster to develop, cheaper to install, and easier to run than ever before, even with all the automation that's available. So it would be amazing to see what would happen if you saw one of these show up in a main line between your city and the next 5-10 closest cities.
There were simply not enough seats on the short streamlined trains to carry the potential ridership. They needed bigger trains, and bigger trains meant more powerful engines. The Zephyr was dedicated with an impressive ceremony in Philadelphia on April 18th of 1934. Then the train began an exhibition tour, visiting most of the major cities on the East Coast. News spread about the new train and soon filled the pages of metropolitan newspapers, movie newsreels, and mechanical trade publications. Huge crowds were on hand at every stopping point on its schedule to catch a look at the Zephyr's low streamlined brightness. The Zephyr, incidentally, was named appropriately for the Greek god of west wind, Zephyrus. The Zephyr was built by the Budd Company of Philadelphia. The whole train, framework, exterior sheathing, and inside trim was made of stainless steel, assembled by Budd's new shot weld process, which eliminated any outside rivets. That particular idea was not new, but the lightweight construction material was, and the cars were stronger while lighter.
And there's a good example, compare and contrast the two different eras of train design here. And I believe if you dig into the Budd company, I believe they were like building automotive bodies. Obviously, they weren't building train bodies until they built this. But they're calling this the diesel electric streamline and a streamline train. And you can see, by the I don't know what you call them, the skirts and stuff around the wheels, and then the scoop shovel nose kind of scoop design on the front. Obviously, it looks extremely retro-futuristic from the side too.
The three-car Zephyr was 197 feet in overall length and weighed approximately 100 tons, slightly more than the weight of a single conventional railway car. Because the train was intended for sustained high-speed operations, even on curves, the low center of gravity was pretty much paramount. Consequently, the train was made fully articulated. Each end of the car rested on a truck shared with the adjacent car, the truck itself forming the coupler. The cars were thus slung between the trucks rather than over them. This system required only 16 wheels altogether, whereas in a conventional train of the same size would need 36. Also, the articulation of the cars by this method provided a much smoother ride for the passengers because it eliminated slack.
So it's faster, it's smoother, it's cheaper to make, it's lighter, like everything going for it really.
Between the cars. The first unit of the Zephyr was occupied by the engine room, cab, and the compartment for the railroad post office facility. The second unit has
getting cleaner and more comfortable.
space for baggage and express, a buffet grill, and a smoking compartment. The front half of the third unit contained a fully air-conditioned passenger area with reclining seats. At the bullet-shaped rear of the Zephyr was an ultra-modern lounge, in which the expansive glass converted the area into a traveling solarium with wide, curved picture windows all around. The furniture, the work of Paul Kret, was very modern, very luxurious, but on the same hand was very simple. And meals from the buffet grill were served on tables set up at the passenger seat. Since the Zephyr was intended for daytime travel only, there was no sleeping accommodations on the train.
And by daytime travel only, they mean traveling from like Chicago to Denver in 12 or 16 hours. Like that's like still, I think they eventually added cars that had sleeping compartments, but this first initial batch in the 30s did not.
The streamlined shape of the Zephyr was carefully engineered in accordance with aerodynamic theory to reduce air resistance and thus increase speed. The bullet-shaped contour of both the front and rear destroyed air impact forces, and the wheel covers, horizontal flushing, absence of rivet heads, and flush windows enabled the Zephyr to easily slice through headwinds. Following its triumphant tour and exhibition, the Zephyr went into regular service on November 11, 1934 in Burlington's important Kansas City, St. Louis, St. Joseph, Omaha.
And the one thing is, if you are looking at pictures of this, so you'll see on this one, it does show kind of the wheel covers. This is the streamline aspect of it. But you'll see in this previous picture here, it's actually just an engine with some other cars that are not fully articulated design, and they don't have as much of a low cover. So this is not the original version that we're talking about.
And wheel covers horizontal. Following Burlington's important Kansas City, St. Louis, St. Joseph, Omaha, and Lincoln line. Burlington was delighted with the train's performance, especially the economy, which was less than one-half the cost of operating a steam-hauled train of the same passenger capacity. So the Zephyr,
you can see here the train, the cars are all blended together, so you know it's an original one.
Steam locomotive. The lower cost of
They were kind of made as a set originally.
In its first year of operation, the train operated 177,000 revenue miles of service, running daily except for 11 days, of which there was a requirement for maintenance. The train made substantial profits for the Burlington, which was not always the case in those days, especially for steam locomotives. The Zephyr had one serious flaw, and that was simply because it was way too small. This sleek, fast streamliner carried 72 revenue seats and was so popular with passengers that space was often sold out, sometimes days in advance. Consequently, the road soon added the fourth car and made plans to buy 2 more Zephyr trains. So having heard all of that, it's very reasonable to assume that 2 things happened with the invention of the Zephyr. Well, number one, Number one, we can be rest assured that every single railroad was looking at the performance of the Zephyr as far as diesel electric traction is concerned. And number two, the cost to operate said diesel electric was way cheaper than steam locomotives despite the initial cost of the locomotives themselves. And this, more so than any other time, I believe, marked the beginning of the end of steam. The growth of the Burlington Zephyr service in the 1930s was enormously impressive, successful beyond the expectations of either the railroad or the builders. From this first step in streamlined train operation, 9 Zephyr trains had evolved, serving the principal cities on the system. So with that, the following specifications apply to the Burlington's Zephyr diesel electric.
Okay, yeah, if you want to dig in and go see the blueprint and talking about all the details about the train itself, go check out his channel. The railroad crossing goes into a little more depth for the last few minutes. And again, well, there's other videos on the Zephyr that we'll cover. And hopefully you find them as fun to look at and wish you could go ride in one too. And you kind of can, but you kind of can't. Stay tuned for another one on that. Thanks for tuning in.